When I saw the wedding photos online, every smiling face of my family gathered in Hawaii without me. Something inside me went completely still. They told me it was an honest mistake, that my ticket must have gotten lost in the system. But you don't forget your own daughter when booking plane tickets to your other daughter's wedding. Not unless you want to. If you've ever felt like the black sheep, the one everyone overlooks until they need something, this story's for you. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't loud or angry. It's quiet, calculated, and unforgettable. Hit that like button and get ready, because this one hurts. Before it heals, I grew up as the middle child, but in my family, that basically meant invisible. My older sister, Emily, was the golden child, straightest student, graceful, everything my parents wanted to brag about. My younger brother, Josh, was the charming one, the baby of the family, and me. I was there, present, but somehow always in the background of every family. Photo.mom used to joke that I was the independent one, but I knew what she really meant, that I didn't need as much attention, because no one gave it to me in the first place. I worked 2 part-time jobs through college while Emily's tuition and rent were fully covered. Every time I brought it up, my mom would smile and say, "Honey, Emily's degree is more expensive. You're doing great on your own." Still, I kept my head down. I loved my family, even when it hurt. Then came the big event, Emily's wedding in Hawaii. My parents couldn't stop talking about it. "It's going to be the family event of the decade," Dad said, beaming. They had weekly calls about the decor, the music, the guest list, but somehow, no one ever included me in those discussions. When I finally asked about it, my mom sounded surprised. "Oh, sweetie, of course you're coming. You'll love Hawaii." I smiled, relieved, thinking maybe I was just overreacting. A few months later, I got the wedding invitation, embossed, elegant, with gold lettering. It made me feel special. For once, I was excited to be part of something, except the travel details never came. At first, I assumed it was a simple delay. I waited for weeks. Then one evening, about 3 weeks before the wedding, I called Mom. "Hey, just checking, do you guys need me to book my own flight?" There was a pause. The kind that lasts too long. "Oh, your ticket? We thought you were handling that," she said. I blinked. "You said you were covering everyone's flights?" "Well, yes," she said quickly, "but I assumed you'd be fine booking yours." "You're so independent, honey." I stared at the phone. That word again, independent. My chest tightened. "I can't afford a last-minute flight to Hawaii, Mom. You know I've been between jobs." Another silence. "Oh, sweetie, don't make a scene. Maybe next time, okay? Emily will understand." Next time, that night, I sat on my bed scrolling through travel sites. The cheapest round-trip ticket was almost $1,200 more than my rent. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. I didn't even cry. I just felt emptied. Out a week later, Emily texted me a group message with some wedding updates. I wrote, "Hey, I might not make it. There's been a ticket issue." She replied with a single thumbs up emoji. The night of the wedding, my Instagram feed lit up like fireworks. Every cousin, every aunt, every friend posting photos of paradise, crystal blue water, flower lace, sunlit boughs. And there they were, my parents, my sister in her perfect white dress, Josh holding a champagne glass, all smiling like they lived in a picture-perfect world. I wasn't even mentioned. Not a single tag, not a single "wish you were here." That's when it hit me. They hadn't forgotten. They'd chosen to leave me out. Over the next few months, I distanced myself. Calls went unanswered, messages ignored. They didn't seem to notice. I poured myself into work, any work I could get. I freelanced, picked up shifts, started helping a small local marketing startup. It was chaotic, but I was learning fast. One day, The startup's founder, a quiet, brilliant guy named Leo, pulled me aside. "You've got an instinct for this," he said. "Ever thought of starting your own thing?" At first, I laughed. Me? Start a company? I could barely afford groceries. But he meant it. He offered to mentor me, to help me build something from scratch. So I did. Nights, weekends, no social life, just me, my laptop, and a vision. I started building digital campaigns for local businesses. Then word spread. Within months, I had my first big contract. Then another. It was exhausting but exhilarating. Every time I signed a client, I thought back to that wedding I wasn't invited to. Every deal felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. A year passed. My small agency, which started as a side hustle in my bedroom, had grown into a real business. I hired 2 people, then 4. We landed a national account that changed everything. Suddenly, I wasn't the forgotten one. I was the founder. I hadn't spoken to my family in months. But that changed one random Tuesday afternoon when my phone buzzed. "Mom, hey honey, we've missed you. We're having a big family dinner this weekend. Emily and her husband will be there too. Can you come?" My stomach twisted. I hadn't heard from her since before the wedding. For a moment, I almost said no. But something in me, curiosity maybe, said yes. When I pulled up to my parents' house that weekend, I almost laughed. It looked exactly the same, yet I felt completely different walking in. Mom greeted me like nothing had ever happened. "There's my girl," she said, pulling me into a hug that felt more for show than warmth. Dad gave a half-hearted smile. Josh nodded from the couch, scrolling on his phone. Then Emily walked in, glowing in that same effortless way she always did. Her husband, a guy named Ben, followed, polite, a little awkward. "Wow, long time no see," Emily said, raising an eyebrow. "You look different." I smiled. "Thanks. Been busy?" Dinner started off polite, shallow. But soon, I caught snippets. Mom asking Emily about her new house. Dad offering to help Josh get back on his feet. And not a single question about me. It was like watching an old movie you'd already outgrown. I didn't belong in that scene anymore. Still, I played along. Until, near the end of the meal, Mom leaned in. "So, honey, what have you been up to? You said you've been busy?" Finally. I smiled slightly, setting down my fork. "Well, I started my own company last year. We do digital strategy and marketing. It's been going surprisingly well." Emily smirked. "Oh, like social media stuff?" "Mm-hmm. Among other things," I said evenly. Dad frowned thoughtfully. "You're not working for that little startup anymore?" "No," I said. "I own mine now." The room went quiet for a second. Then Mom laughed lightly, as if trying to keep things casual. "Oh, that's nice. You've always been such a go-getter." But her tone was off. It wasn't pride, it was confusion. And that was the first moment I realized the balance had shifted. The rest of dinner felt like walking through an old, haunted house, familiar walls, but the ghosts had changed. I smiled and nodded, keeping things civil, even when Emily subtly flexed her new perfect life like it was a trophy. Every story started with Ben and I. Every compliment circled back to her. I didn't bother competing. What none of them realized was that while they were still comparing handbags and vacations, I was quietly building something that could buy them both. After dessert, as everyone drifted into the living room, Mom asked, "Could you help Emily with something work-related, sweetheart? She's been trying to get her business off the ground." Emily's face tightened slightly, like she didn't want to ask, but also didn't want to seem rude. "Oh, it's nothing big," she said quickly. "Just some marketing stuff. We've been trying to grow my boutique's online presence. It's been harder than I expected." Then jumped in. We've spent a small fortune on ads, but they're not converting. Maybe you could take a look? I almost laughed. Of course. After forgetting my existence for a year, now I was suddenly useful. But I kept my tone polite. Sure, send me the details. I'll take a look when I can. Her relief was instant. Thanks. We'd really appreciate it. A few days later, an email came through with a full breakdown of their failing campaign. And wow, it was a disaster. Bad targeting, terrible copy, no analytics setup. They were bleeding money. I could fix it easily. But as I scrolled through the attachments, another thought hit me like a slow, satisfying grin. Why should I fix it right away? See, Emily's boutique wasn't just a hobby. It was her new identity. The successful entrepreneur, the girl boss she loved to brag about. If that fell apart, so would the shiny image she'd worked so hard to project, the same one my parents worshipped. That's when the idea started forming. I wasn't going to sabotage her. I was going to let her destroy herself with a little help from karma and timing over the next few weeks. I played the long game. I reviewed her campaigns, gave small, harmless suggestions, things that sounded useful but wouldn't actually fix the core problems. Try widening your audience reach, I'd say. Or your ad budget might be too low. All while knowing the real issue was her website tracking and sales funnel completely broken. Meanwhile, my own company was exploding. We just landed a major partnership with a retail chain, the kind of client small agencies dream about. I barely had time to sleep, but it didn't matter. The business had momentum, and for the first time in my life, I felt unstoppable. Then, one Thursday evening, Mom called again. Sweetie, Emily's been having such a rough time with her business. Could you maybe help her more directly? She said you've been busy. Translation, fix her mess. I kept my tone calm. I'm happy to look again, but my clients are under contract. I can't just drop them. Mom sighed. You know how stressed she's been? Maybe you could do it as a favor? Family helping family. That phrase, family helping family, hit me differently now. Where was that energy when they left me off the plane tickets? Still, I smiled. Sure, Mom. Let me see what I can do. Over the next month, I watched Emily's boutique quietly spiral. Her sales tanked. Her customer base shrank. Her ads stopped performing completely. She posted teary Instagram stories about how hard it is to be an entrepreneur, while her followers dwindled. Then, almost poetically, she called me. Hey, she said, her voice smaller than usual. Do you think you could meet me for coffee? I really need help. There it was. The sound of desperation I never thought I'd hear from her. We met at a downtown cafe. She looked frazzled, hair pulled back, dark circles, hands trembling slightly as she stirred her coffee. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, she said. Nothing's working. And now I've got inventory piling up and debt collectors calling. For a moment, I almost felt bad. I opened my laptop. Okay, let's see. As I reviewed her data, I spoke calmly, clinically, explaining every missed opportunity, every ignored warning sign, all the things she could have fixed months ago if she'd actually valued my help. Watching her face fall piece by piece was strangely cathartic. You can recover, I said gently. But it'll take time. You might need to rebuild from scratch. Her eyes filled with tears. I don't have time. Or money. Then she said the words that flipped everything. Could you maybe partner with me? Like merge your company services? You're clearly good at this, and I need someone who knows what they're doing. I sat there, silent for a long second. It was surreal. The same sister who hadn't cared enough to text me on her wedding day now wanted to work for me. Let me think about it, I said finally. When I told Leo about it later, he laughed. Karma's got excellent timing, he said. I spent the weekend weighing my options. I could help her and feel like a good person, or I could help her in a way that finally made things right that Monday morning. I drafted a proposal, a full marketing contract between her boutique and my agency. It was professional, airtight, and very, very expensive. I added every clause to protect my time and expertise. When she saw the quote, her eyes widened. "This is a lot," she said softly. "It's fair market value," I replied. "Actually, a discount, considering the workload." She hesitated, but eventually signed. What choice did she have? Over the next 3 months, my team completely overhauled her brand. New website, new campaigns, better product positioning. The results were immediate. Sales tripled, engagement skyrocketed, and within 6 weeks, she was back in business. And then came the twist. Remember that national retail partnership my agency landed? One of their new lines was in the same niche as Emily's boutique, only bigger, cheaper, and with better marketing, ours. Her boutique sales dipped again hard. But this time, it wasn't mismanagement, it was competition. She didn't realize the competitor's campaign, the one dominating her audience, was created by my company. A few weeks later, at a family barbecue, Mom couldn't stop gushing about Emily's comeback. Everyone was praising her for working so hard. I just smiled quietly, sipping my drink. Then Dad asked, "So, how's your business, honey?" "It's good," I said, glancing at Emily. "We just wrapped a campaign that's doing really well in her industry." Her head snapped toward me. "Wait, what campaign?" I met her eyes. "Oh, just a retail partnership. You've probably seen the ads, they're everywhere." The silence that followed was delicious. Her face drained of color as realization hit. She excused herself to the kitchen, and I stayed right where I was, pretending nothing had happened. Later that night, she sent me a text. "Was that your company? Are you working with my competition?" I replied simply, "Business is business. You know how it goes." No lies, no drama, just the truth she couldn't swallow. She didn't speak to me for weeks. Mom called again, this time angry. "How could you do that to your sister? She's struggling." I took a breath. "Mom, a year ago, you forgot to buy me a $300 plane ticket to your daughter's wedding." I think she survived this. For the first time in my life, she didn't have a comeback. Just silence. That silence was the sweetest sound I'd ever heard. From that day on, something shifted permanently. My family stopped treating me like the forgotten one. They started asking about my business, including me in conversations, even deferring to me on financial topics. It was like they finally saw me, but too late to matter. And that's the thing about revenge. It doesn't always come in flames. Sometimes it comes wrapped in silence, success, and the knowledge that they'll never get another chance to forget you again. Months passed after that night, and I didn't hear much from my family, which was fine. Peace felt better than pretending. My company kept growing, and before long, I was signing contracts that didn't just change my career, but my life. By the time we hit our second anniversary, my agency had gone from a tiny local startup to a 7-figure firm. We had real offices, real employees, and clients who sent us thank you baskets. Every milestone felt surreal. Sometimes I'd catch myself thinking back to that night of Emily's wedding, me, alone in my small apartment, scrolling through photos of a family that had forgotten me, and it felt like another lifetime. Then, one afternoon, as if fate wanted one last encore, my mom called again. "Sweetie, I know things have been tense," she began, her tone careful, "but Emily and Ben are having some trouble with their finances. The boutique isn't doing so well again. They're thinking of selling part of the business to investors." I leaned back in my chair. "That's tough," I said. She hesitated. "Well, they were hoping maybe you'd be interested." You've done so well, and it could really help her out. There it was, the final twist of the knife, only this time I was holding the handle. Later that week, Emily reached out herself. She didn't sound proud or defensive this time, just tired. I know we've had our differences, she said, but if you're willing to invest, I'd give you a fair share of the business. I can't keep up with the bills. I didn't gloat. I didn't even smile. But inside, I could feel that deep, quiet satisfaction, not from crushing her, but from how completely the roles had reversed. I'll take a look at the numbers, I said. She sent over her financials. And within a few minutes, it was obvious her boutique was beyond saving. The brand had no equity, her inventory was overpriced, and her debt was swallowing her profits whole. If I bought it, it would be purely symbolic and poetic. So I did. For a token amount, I acquired 51% of her boutique, full control. The paperwork went through quickly, and suddenly, my sister worked for me. When we met to sign the final agreement, she looked pale, like she'd aged 10 years in one. Guess I should have booked your plane ticket, she muttered, half a joke, half a confession. I met her eyes and said quietly, yeah, you should have. We didn't talk much after that. There wasn't anger anymore, just a kind of mutual understanding. She'd made her choices, and I'd finally made mine. A few months later, I officially merged her boutique into one of my agency's retail clients. Her old brand name disappeared. It was business, clean, efficient, final, but I'll never forget the look on her face the day she walked past a store window and saw her former logo replaced with ours. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. That was the moment karma finished what I'd started. I won't pretend it was all satisfaction and victory. There were nights I lay awake, wondering if I'd gone too far. But every time I replayed the memory of being left behind, ignored, dismissed, I knew I hadn't done this out of cruelty. I did it because sometimes people only learn respect when you stop begging for it and start owning it. The truth is, I didn't need to get revenge on my family. Success did it for me. The day they realized they couldn't control or diminish me anymore, that was the real justice. These days, I don't go to family events. I don't scroll through their posts or check who's tagging who. I have my own people now, the team I built, the friends who see me, and a life that feels entirely mine. Every now and then, Mom still calls. Her tone is different now, softer, careful, almost reverent. We're so proud of you, she says. You've really made something of yourself. And I always answer the same way, smiling quietly into the phone. I learned from the best. Just not the way you think. Reflective wrap up. Sometimes life doesn't give you the apology you deserve. But if you're patient and focused, you can build something better than an apology. You can build a life that makes them realize exactly what they lost when they underestimated you. Because revenge doesn't always come in fire and fury. Sometimes it comes in peace, power, and success that speaks louder than words ever could. OUTROCTA. If this story hit home, hit that like button, because everyone deserves the moment when karma finally catches up. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever been underestimated only to prove them wrong in the best way possible? And don't forget to subscribe. There are plenty more stories where justice comes with a twist.